Aaron Lewis from Liberty Regret Norfleet here with Tommy Lepore here from Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Looking forward to this weekend. We're going to head down to Branson for this weekend's tournament, get a little video, talk to the fellas. And, we just announced our first ever YBM Game 7 Baseball Super 7 Scholarship Award winner. Want to congratulate Sean Murphy from the Edwardsville Spikes over in Illinois. Great essay. Really enjoyed reading that, Sean family. Congratulations to Sean. We gave away $1,000 scholarship for that young man. Coming off 14U baseball. Hope Kevin, as you know, any amount helps when you're getting into college there, right?
100%, and we talk about that all the time, especially with baseball as a partial scholarship sport, how important the academics are, or a scholarship such as this, how they go a long ways, and you start stacking them together, then you kind of have something.
And we, as always, welcome our resident guru for the old prep baseball, Kevin Moulder. We were out last night. Or actually Tuesday night with PBR and had a great event. The Battle for the Arch. It was a good baseball game too, wasn't it?
Great game and a perfect night for baseball. So that was a fun event under the lights over there at GCS Ballpark.
Absolutely. And today we want to discuss, because we saw a lot of the so give us, I know we had Scott Goodrich from Merrimack St. Louis Archers. There was, I can't remember his first name, the Jeffco coach, Coach Bone, right?
Matt. Yeah, Matt. We had the assistant from Jeffco.
Was it Matt?
Two assistants. Yes, two assistants from SWIC, Southwestern Illinois Community College. An assistant from Lincoln, Lakeland, which is in Charleston, Illinois. And then we had an assistant coach from Vincennes, which is in Indiana.
I talked to that gentleman, Indiana. I said, so where's this? It was Blazers. And I said, where are you guys from? He goes, Indiana. I said, Indiana? I said, dang, man. That's good. He goes, we were over here playing and we talked. He says, a great opportunity. And I thought that was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah. So we had those guys to help coach the players and help us run the event. So it was, kind of we don't do most of our events or any other events really like that. We do this one like that. So it was a fun way to get the players and coaches kind of mixed up and on the field together, and fun night.
It was really enjoyable. And we want to talk a little bit, because we're talking a lot about these JUCO coaches that were there working with the kids, talking to them. And, you've brought this up quite a bit in considering the JUCO route for a player. Where does that come into? We've pretty much, especially with the 2023s, we're seeing that that list fill up, guys committing. There's still those guys that are still out there working and doing and putting their name in there. This becomes a really good opportunity for that type of player to go to a JUCO and continue to grow. And if you're a Missouri player, as you've brought up, we have the, what do they call that? A-plus program.
Missouri A-plus program is a phenomenal program that I advise any high school student, not just baseball players, to take advantage of. You never know. In our state, if you go through the Missouri A-plus program, which you can just go talk to your guidance counselor, your counselor there at your high school, they can get you set up. But all of our high school students can go to Missouri junior college for tuition free, which is a phenomenal deal, and certainly something to take advantage of.
Exactly. I mean, I think those are interesting situations. And when we're talking about this, I was able to find this website. It kind of gives us an idea of the amount of schools around and schools offering. And in the junior college ranks, there's 11 junior colleges in the state of Missouri. That's a lot.
Yes, it is. And we're fortunate we just added a couple new ones with Moberly Community College and obviously brought back East Central Community College. So just more opportunities for our guys to find a landing spot in college. And we also play at a very high level. Over the last decade, I believe Crowder has been to the JUCO World Series at least 3 times. Jeffco's been to the JUCO World Series 3 times. So these guys are playing on a national level. So we kind of have all ends of the spectrum covered, and definitely plenty of players moving on from those schools to, 4-year schools after that, whether it be major Division I colleges or D2, D3 NAIs.
What are there's Maple Woods, that's up in around the Kansas City area. Is that on the Kansas side or the Missouri side?
It's Missouri.
Okay. And then I know
that's Albert Pujols played at Maple Woods.
Right.
So there's some famous alumni. St. Louis Community College, most notably, I would suppose would be David Freese, but they've pumped out a good number of big leaguers and were a powerhouse in the 70s and under Coach Lessman, and now Coach Goodridge. They're now doing really good things. They've had some really strong years, and as recently as putting out David Freese. So
there you go. And we had a chance to, if you get a chance to go to the broadcast, watch the ball game. It's fun, and we got a chance to talk to players. We toward the end of the broadcast, Coach Goodridge came up with Kevin into the booth, and we were able to chat it up with him a bit. It was a fun conversation, and it kind of took us through the end of the game there. But really interesting stuff if you want to get to know. I think it's very interesting to get to know these guys when you're talking about the route you want to go as a player, building and developing that relationship and understanding how to do those things, and talking to these coaches. Who are they? What are they like? What's their... We use the term philosophy, and every coach is a bit different in how they approach the game of baseball. So, what do you like about that? What don't you like about that? Can you deal with the things maybe if you like, you never bunted in your life, and this coach is going to say, you're going to have to bunt a couple times. I think that's very interesting. Am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right, and each program's going to have their own little twist on things. So, being able to, we talked about this before the game, do the things that are going to showcase your abilities well, whether that's bunting for a hit, stealing, a base, making a diving play on defense, etc. We want guys to play their game.
And Kevin, to that point, there was some interesting things Coach Goodridge brought up in his conversation there as he was watching, some things that he noticed that you wouldn't think about that stood out to him as a coach. We understand the basic things, the this, that, but these little smaller things that he noticed about this player, about that player, about this. And there was a play going on while he was up there. I'm trying to remember who was in playing shortstop at that time. I can't remember. Anyway, ball. He was the runner taken off. He had, I think it was Vasquez, or was it?
Jordan Vasquez? Yeah.
And he's going towards second, has to stop because the ball's hit to the hole, the third base hole. And he goes, backhands it, makes the throw. The throw was offline, but he made the play close. And he said, everybody looks at that, the throw was off. He says, but the athleticism that he just showed in that play to get to the ball, to even make a quick throw. He said that's what you're looking for. He said you do that in a showcase. He said that's really good. He says you do that in a game, that's impressive. And his viewpoint on that.
Yeah. Yep. That's a great point, and by a coach and who understands that sort of thing. So that's why we have those coaches in the dugout, and it's good for the players to get to interact with them and kind of get that knowledge straight from those guys.
When you're talking about the junior colleges, Kevin, are you looking at Jeffco is close here, but as we're talking here, I think it's interesting to note. And this is what this kind of website showed, and I thought was interesting. And I don't think this is what most people think about in these situations. You got Division I, II, III, NAIA, and junior college. There's a total of 1,405 roster spots. What is out of how many base? Yeah.
Divide that by 5 years right now, because that's how many classes are in college baseball.
That's not a lot of spots available, is there?
No, it is not.
So I think this is an interesting look at, and just playing in the state. Of course, we have Illinois, Iowa, all the places around. Don't get me wrong. But yet, this is what you're looking at. And in the junior college, there's 330 total roster spots out of 11 schools. So you're talking about a 30-man roster. And,
yes. Yeah.
And as you said, you're talking about, even 2 years there, right? So that recycles a little bit more than a 4-year school.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're right. But it does kind of go hand in hand. Some kids get stuck in their head. They have to go D1. They have to go D1. Well, there's limited spots, and just because you get onto the D1 roster doesn't mean you're going to play or travel, etc. So it's good to remember there's a lot of other options out there and other avenues to pursue, to go to be able to play college baseball, and then ultimately, even get into pro baseball. Kids get drafted at every single level of baseball. It's not necessarily like college football, where a vast majority of guys are coming out of the Power 5 schools. In college baseball, you see guys get drafted all the time out of the junior college ranks, D2, even the Division III ranks. Webster University has a guy in the big leagues right now. One of the better D3 schools in the program, in the country. So it can happen for you at any of those schools, but you got to be on the field to get exposure.
And that's something I looked at. I was just looking because I didn't know much about NAIA baseball when Justin started playing. And it was curious. I was like, well, what's this about? What are these schools about? What is this? What's that? And I think it was 20. I'd seen it. I don't know what their consistency is, but in like 2017, they had up on their website, they had 36 players drafted. And the highest player at NAIA, I think, was in the 10th round.
Mm-hmm.
But so it goes to your point. It doesn't matter if you're good enough, you will have an opportunity to be drafted.
Absolutely. They will find you, and there's been plenty of players at each one of these levels that have advanced onto the big leagues.
And folks, when you hear 10th round, don't think that Albert Pujols was drafted in the 13th round, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yeah.
So, don't say, oh, the 10th round. We get enamored. I think we get enamored with these things because it's glamorous, and I understand the glamour of it. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand the glamorous stuff, and it's fun. But the reality is I would bet money I don't know, and I'm going to look this up because I'm going to say this, and I'm going to go see if I can back myself up. So we'll make the statement. We'll be bold. I would say the larger percentage of major league players are in those lower rounds that stay around and work and do. I couldn't tell you who the number one pick is. I don't watch the MLB draft as much. I look at little things this way. But how many names do you remember of the number one, first round, second round of the MLB draft that are still there?
Yeah, and normally, you don't remember them for the right reasons. A lot of people say Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. He was a first rounder, but I believe he was picked in the 20s. So it's not like the NFL or the NBA where it's, the number one pick is the best, guy necessarily. So you think back and, the number one pick is certainly not a sure thing. Now you would rather have the number one pick than not have it, but the percentages are still against you even as the number one pick.
I think there's just some normatives that we think about in sports that I don't think necessarily apply to baseball. Agreed?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
It's just, and so I think trying to, one of the goals, and that's why I love talking with you, Kevin, like this in these types of settings, is because I think it gives us a glimpse of those types of things you've been in. You see these things on a regular basis. And how do we educate people, bring them to an understanding of what the sport is truly about and how the mechanics of it work? Because it is different than the basketball and the football that we see on the top.
Yes, that's the other thing about college baseball. It's, in basketball and football, people know those names, because they're on television, they're become a star. And with college baseball, they might know your name, but no matter what, you're going to go play in the minor leagues for 2 to 4 years as a college player. Occasionally that you'll see like a pitcher make a big league bullpen in a year. That happened with the Royals a couple years ago with Finnegan from TCU. But for the most part, these guys have to go spend years and years in the minor leagues before they make it up to the major leagues.
There you go. And you see that. I think it's interesting with Braxton Martinez, local kid here, playing Double-A baseball, still working. He's 28. His window, he's had a really good season. He's 28, and you start looking at, is that window closing for that opportunity at the next level? He's still working, still grinding. He's playing the game at a high level. His career in that respect. But those are the things that are interesting. And as we're watching Justin Dearden, another local product in the Houston Astros program, he just got promoted. He was promoted to AAA, playing very well there. I think he's 24 in that range. So those windows are a little different in that respect once you look at the age as well, correct?
Yeah, that mother time is, or father time, I should say, is not your friend when you're starting to get up in age in the minor leagues. Even if you're performing well, they have to promote the young guys and keep them moving through the system. That's the thing about the minor leagues. They're bringing in new guys every single year, so they're going to release however many guys they bring in. They have to release that many.
Oh, wow. See, there you go. I'm not as familiar with some of the mechanics of that as you just said. So that makes sense though, because you only have so much money, right? And
That's
so
right.
many roster spots.
So many roster spots, so many at bats, so many innings to pitch, so many, innings to fill defensively. So you have to have your prospects on the field.
Boom. And it's interesting once you get into high school, and this is where I think we're having these conversations with youth baseball. How are we preparing? We talk about college so much and college scholarships at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 that I think we're missing the boat. And thinking about how are we preparing these kids for high school, because it's not different. There's only so many roster spots at the high school level. You can, a coach can say, hey, I'm not going to cut anybody and have 40 kids. He can do that. But that doesn't mean that kid at the end of the bench is going to play.
That's the tough thing about it. And if you carry extra players, like the idea behind it is great to include everyone and, I give everyone the experience. I get that. But at the same time, if you're doing that, then you're taking reps away from players that need them during practice. Um, at bats are hard to find during games, innings on the mound, etc. So sometimes large numbers aren't the way to go. There's consequences. So there's pros and cons, and that's something coaches kind of have to sort out.
That's interesting. And I think this is the whole process. And I think the more we work towards that compartmentalization, for lack of a better way to put it, let's look at these players just moving to high school first, and then allow the high school to generate to the college, and take it step by step, rather than starting off at 9U going, hey, we're going to get a Division I scholarship.
That's right. Yeah, at 9U and in really any youth, levels, you're trying to improve, get better. Your ultimate goal at this point should be to make your high school team, and then kind of go from there.
Exactly.
Let the kids dream. Yeah, we want to make the big leagues. You want to play for the Cardinals or the Yankees or whoever. That is all great, but the perspective for a team coach or for a parent is, let's set up my son where he can make his high school baseball team his first year of high school. That's a phenomenal goal. Now, if he starts, if he does that, he makes the varsity team as a freshman or something. Well, then, okay, now we got a situation where your son is probably ready to start exploring some of the college options. Not that you have to make a decision then, but that would be an indicator. Okay, now my son's probably a Division I type guy potentially. There's more to it than that because every high school is a little bit different. Is he making Coach Perkins' varsity team at Francis Howell a true freshman? Okay, that says to me one thing. Or is he making the varsity team out of a 1A high school? Still could be a very, very good player, but obviously those are two different type rosters with different type depth and different type histories. So it doesn't necessarily mean that your son is destined to be a college baseball player in that scenario.
There you go. Let's take a right turn here. Let's do a little recap from last night. I think there was some standout guys there last night, and want to get your thoughts on some of these kids and who stood out in your eyes.
Yeah, we had a great event, good game. Specifically for Team Missouri, a couple positional players that kind of caught my eye. First off, we had a workout beforehand. Edward Ushel put on a show during BP. Almost got to 100 miles per hour during BP with his exit velo. Physical third baseman out of Parkway South. He can really drive the baseball and kind of showed that off pregame. Carson Mccaleb had a really nice night. The switch hitting catcher from Timberland also put up some big exit velo numbers, 98.6, but caught a really good game. In those environments are tough on catchers in particular. So you think about it, they're catching kids, A, they usually don't catch, and then B, they're also catching a lot of different kids because they're the pitchers only throw 1 to 2 innings typically in events like this. So that's a tough assignment for the catchers, but Carson is one that kind of stood out. Luke Burns from DeSmet did a really nice job last night, in particular in the pregame workout. He showed well. Now in game, we had Tyler Okowski hit a big hard hit double into left center field, and Aiden Rodgers also hit very well last night. He had the big 2 RBI hit for Team Missouri, probably the best in-game hit. He smoked one off the left center field wall. Catcher at Francis Howell, and he always swings it well in game. So he performed well there.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Aiden because he was playing in right field at the end of the game. And he was the result of the last out. It caught up. They were tagging from third base and threw the kid out coming home.
You know what? And that was a great play, and it's how the game ended. With these catchers in particular, we're trying to get a couple guys, back behind the plate, and we give them opportunity to show some versatility. And Aiden, showed his arm strength right there. That was a strong throw. He threw the guy out, and that was an impressive play to end the evening. So yeah, that's a great point. Not why he was at the event, but showing he's a ball player. Cody Brown also caught my eye. Versatile player from Sacramento, also a catcher, can play some outfield. Had the best 60 time. So he's a plus runner, and you don't think necessarily catcher, runner, but Cody's the guy that can make things happen on the bases, and really strong player, and he had a good night. Had some sub-2 pop times in the showcase.
I liked what he did when you talk about sub-plus runner there. There was just before Aiden hit the double off the wall, Rodgers, he'd gone on to second because you put a runner and I love the fact that you left Aiden Rodgers in there because the pitcher, he caught him the little inside pitch. And so you the first pitch, man, Cody Brown gets a good lead, great jump, steals second base. And as you said, he's a catcher, but he's taking an opportunity to show his skill level. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and Cody did. And that's what we talked about pregame. Do what is going to showcase what you do well. And Cody took advantage of that when he was on the bases. On the mound, I thought Team Missouri threw some really nice pitchers. Charlie Musarisi, who we saw at the Mo Fall games a couple weeks back, obviously threw well last night. He has that really nice breaking ball. The spin rate on that is, close to 2,500 last night. So I'm telling you, that's a tight breaking ball. He got some swings and misses, had a good inning of work. Young man you got to talk to with Justin up in the press box, Ajani Henke. He had the best fastball, about 88.5 miles per hour. And that's a live fastball. And he's kind of winding it down, but I know that's a young man that's been up a 90-mile-per-hour arm, and he was catching the coach's attentions, last night. Certainly, I'm sure he'll have some options moving on, but that's an electric arm and certainly threw well. Another one that caught our eye, Hayden Boyd had a really nice night. Versatile guy, played shortstop a bunch, but then got on the mound after doing all the workouts and everything, was 85 on the mound, and there's going to be a place for him too. That's an interesting guy. I look forward to following him through the winter and seeing him again next spring. But I thought Hayden Boyd had a really strong, and that's a junior. That's a 2024. It was a fun event, and had a number of guys show really well.
I called him and Cody the Seckman brothers. They both go to Seckman High School.
Had a really good year last year, and I know they lost Gavin Johnson to SEMO. Was their number one, but they are set up to have another nice run this year, I would say.
I had to ask him. I said, "Guys, how'd you lose to Lindenberg?" They're like, we don't know. I was kidding them. I mean, Lindbergh is a good team, but it was funny. They were like, they had a really good team. They had a great offense last year, and I think
Yes,
those
they
guys
did.
are going to be right there back in the middle of that as well. So let's talk a little bit. I want to bring to bear. We talked with Ajani up in the booth that night and last night, and I really enjoyed talking to that young man. He's sharp, really has an understanding of where he wants to go and what he wants to do. We're hoping to get him on for a player spotlight and talk to him. And because I think, and I really like the fact that I'm seeing this young man and seeing some of the homeschool kids coming out to some of these events where they may not get some of the opportunities. And as we were talking last night, the Patriots, the St. Louis Patriots homeschool team is starting to get on the schedule of some pretty good teams coming up, right?
Yeah, they do a nice job with their schedule, and they play some really good teams. And I've seen them a number of times. They have a good team. They'll beat some of the good teams. So they are a nice homeschool team. 2 years ago they won the homeschool World Series. Last year they were at the homeschool World Series, did well, did not win it, but that's a really strong program. And Ajani is obviously going to be one of their top arms. They had Jack Shark a couple of years ago that went on to Central Missouri, so they've put some guys out and they do a nice job.
I really like seeing that, and I think those opportunities for those kids, that's great, fantastic. When you're the Illinois side, I don't want to just leave some of those guys out because we saw some pretty good guys on that side. I know we're Missouri folks, but there was some really solid. The two twins,
the Barker twins, yeah, David and Michael were two of the better Illinois arms, both juniors. 2024s out of Illinois did really well.
and
Yeah, the Team Illinois, solid team.
and David, I think he was the first one that pitched. Was David? He had a curveball that really worked.
Yes,
He was throwing that in on right-handed hitters, and he was throwing that ball. He trusted enough. He was throwing that ball at the hitter, and it was breaking
those are
for a
good eyes.
strike.
Yeah, good eyes by you because he had according to TrackMan's the statistical stuff, he had the second best breaking ball behind Charlie Musarisi, who we already talked about from Team Missouri. So yeah, you're right. David and Michael both had good breaking balls last night, and according to the metrics, theirs were the second and third best breaking balls behind Musarisi's.
I love the length of those guys. As you've always talked about, those kids are projectable because I think they both, what were they, 150 pounds soaking wet?
Yeah. Those are projectable frames, and that's something that'll certainly catch a coach's eye. And those guys are exciting young talents that will be better a year from now than they are today.
And I'm hoping I pronounce his last name right. He's a GBA kid, Trevor Geiss.
Yes, Trevor.
Trevor
had a really good.
Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trevor. He was one of the main positional players from Team Illinois. Had a really good BP. Was in that low to mid 90s range during, the BP workout, and that is another guy that was certainly an exciting guy for Team Illinois there. Threw really well from the outfield. Was upper 80s. Had some big time arm strength. So that's a guy I know that the Illinois guys are excited about.
Yeah, he had a big throw from the outfield. He threw that Missouri player out by like 4 steps.
2 assists on one for each team, gunning a guy down at the plate last night on bang bang plays. They were both just hey, if they don't make a strong throw, those guys are easily safe. It wasn't like that was bad base running. It was good base running and just better throws.
Yeah. And, I thought what was interesting last night, Kevin, and we remarked about this, and Coach Goodrich was talking about it as well in the booth, is how engaged these players were. Say what you want to, it's a showcase. These kids have done these things, whatnot. It's easy to come and kind of go through the motions.
Well, yes, it is. I think it's a fun event for a couple different reasons. One, we got a pro park. It's a night game. The weather was perfect. We couldn't have had a better night for playing.
And remember,
It's
you picked that one, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I had the Farmer's Almanac out and had the date correct with the weather. But it's a fun environment, and it's a midweek. It's the only game. It's not a double header. It's a good event, and then you got the JUCO coaches in there with those guys. We had some other 4-year coaches at the event, so it is a good atmosphere and a good opportunity for guys. Show what they have, and rightfully so. They played really hard last night.
They did. There was a total engagement. The atmosphere, the attitudes of the players, I thought was really good throughout the whole event. Guys were there to really take care of business, and as you said, I think it showed in the game. They played really hard from beginning to end. I think one of the things that kind of sets that. And we were doing some blurbs, some just quick videos before the game when we were on the field during the showcase. And I was talking to the guys, and I'm like, "You guys going to win this?" "Oh, heck yeah, we're going to win it." And so I think that competitiveness comes out when you're, the battle for the arch. It was a 6-4 ball game, Justin? Yeah. And, I mean, a close ball game, big plays, kids swinging the bats. And I love that competitive flavor to this showcase.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than some of the other events where we emphasize the game and, had real umpires out there. And, it's a fun night all the way around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kevin, as always, man, thanks for dropping the knowledge.
Always, I appreciate you guys, and glad you guys were able to make it out last night, and it was a lot of fun.
We're looking forward to it. We always do. I enjoy that part of it because it introduces us to the players a little bit more. We get a chance to see those guys face to face and talk to them. And I love that part of it. I really do. I enjoy the conversation with the players. I think these kids, they're a lot of fun. And I'm an old guy, so it helps keep me youthful, bro.
Me too.
So we're looking forward to. I mean, that's it for this year, isn't it? Or you got some other? I'm sure different random.
I have a couple
stuff
JUCO Scout days, and I have we do one wrap up event, the Mo Fall Open, October 24th at the very end of the fall. Try to get guys that couldn't make events that might have been playing with their teams, etc.
So we're looking forward to another schedule next year. I really am. And I'm hoping that we can do some more things and have some fun and put together a real nice view from this perspective, because recruiting is important if you're wanting to play collegiate baseball. And I think we're really finding an opportunity here, having you on the show, talking about recruiting, talking about the events, and bringing perspective here for parents to understand the process. So I appreciate it greatly, man.
Have fun doing it.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. If you like what's going on, please hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that. Hit the dinger, because that's what we do, and we saw a couple of those last night. We saw the doubles. We didn't see any dingers, but we saw a few doubles last night. So we got some doubles in there. So the bell gets you your notifications and for all upcoming episodes. And please share it out. Tune in. We got some great player spotlights coming up. We just had some. If you missed Jack Holubowski, Carson Mccaleb, Will Libert from Blair Oaks, great kid, big-time pitcher going to Mizzou. We got Tyler Whitworth coming up. Chase Lassiter just premiered last night. Chase is a great kid. Really enjoyed talking with Chase Lassiter. And so there's a lot coming up. Please subscribe, and we appreciate it very much. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters, Kevin,
Hit them where they ain't.
good advice, folks. We'll see you next time.